See if I can. Hello, hello. It's nice to taper that music off. Hi. Let's turn that off. How are you? I'm just shifting into place here because things were offset around me in my little studio. And but I am here, and I am glad that you are here. And I'm very interested in chatting with you about our top. Oh, look at that. There's one of my. It's my umbrella. Little setup changes today. But it's kind of cool to see the behind the scenes, you know. I kind of like that too. I like seeing what's happening behind the scenes of some of these live streams. And my chair that I'm on doesn't have wheels. So I'm just like, it's this like solid wood heavy chair. Just like, and I like sitting really, really close. And so it's like, it's like kind of like getting into a racing car. Like there's like, it has like a car that has doors that don't open and you have to kind of like jump in through the window. That's like right here. So it's kind of fun jumping into the seat and getting going. It has this kind of racing car kind of feel to it. But the dream is to have wheels one day on my car so that I don't have to lift it and shift it over. So we're going to be talking today. Ooh, let's get this. I post the invite to the live into Facebook in case anybody tries to join in on the live video screen, which you are welcome to do. And also I'm going into Facebook now to see if there's anybody says I'm going live. And yet here I am, breathing, already alive. So I'm just also making sure, checking in. There's Lydia. Hi, Lydia. But it says I'm going live and it doesn't say I am live. So I do want to make sure that I don't go too far without at least seeing that it is actually live on Facebook right now. And right now it just says that I'm planning to go live. So I'm going to just refresh this. And there we go. There I am. Pause that. Look at my setup. I love the way it looks. And I think this orange shirt really pops. But all right. So I just want to make sure I can see also the chat that's happening there because I have come to learn that I now have to have two windows open. All right, here we are. We are set. We are live. So normally we start this at 6:30. It's now 6:43. And like I said, there was just some setup that had to happen in the studio, but we are here. So thank you very much. And this is one of the ways that you know that it's live. I think that's kind of fun to actually see some of the setup and some of this, know that people are with you live in real time. That's actually the feedback that I've gotten is that people would rather come to this and have there be little live hiccups. And I was going to say look up. Live hiccups. And I think there's kind of the fun in knowing that it really is live. We recently, my partner and I were at a live concert, and there was part of the live concert was a live stream from another country, like Hawaii or wherever this person was. And they were doing, they had crystal bowls, and they were doing like a live broadcast of this kind of like sound healing over the internet, and it was projected onto the theater, screen, and it came into the video right at the moment where they were ready to start. Sound had been tested, the color looked great. This just happened on Friday, like a few days ago, and so video opens to this this female musician. Crystal bowls, ready to sing, and she's already like this, and the lights. She's on camera, and she just opens her eyes and just does this and doesn't say a word and goes into playing and singing. And within 2 minutes, it just sounded so good and looked so good, but she had said nothing and there was no hiccups. It was just like right in, and she kept going. And people actually started asking if it was really live, because the whole idea is to go to this live concert and see this live person up on the screen. But when something is so flawless and there's no real-time interaction, even if it is live, there came a point where people just weren't so engaged because they couldn't tell that it was live. And there's just something about the things that are hiccups or don't go perfectly are what makes it more interesting, more alive. It actually makes it more engaging. If we're watching something just go perfectly as planned, there is a sense within ourselves as humans that it's outside of our range of what we expect for ourselves. So if we are always looking at something going absolutely perfectly all the time, it actually, in some people, creates anxiety that they won't be able to perform at that standard. And so some people just literally don't start. They just don't try unless they think they're going to get it perfect the first time or at the standards of what they think is some standard that they see out in the world. So the biggest concern is if I try something and it isn't perfect, is that going to be the standard that people will always judge me by? And this is the concept of you're only as good as your last at bat. So this is a saying that is basically a baseball reference. And if a person is, you get a player that's on the home base, swinging. They might get 3 strikes and they're out. Well, they're going to come back around within those 9 innings and be up at the bat again and swing, and they're out. So now in baseball, they'll have a swing stat or a hit stat kind of thing, a performance stat. And the stats are for that game 0. Like there's been no action for hitting. So then they come up a third time and they, boom, hit it out of the ballpark. And it's awesome. It's a home run and they get points and everybody's happy. Well, now you got this 2-to-1 fail success ratio. They come up again. What do we think? Are they 2 failures to, like, I'm using the word failure for the sake of that's how people tend to refer to themselves. I don't want to do it unless I'm going to succeed if I'm fear of failing. So we're going to use success failure just for the sake of this reference. Okay. That way it gives it more of a black and white heaviness and lightness to it, like success, fail. And so the person's at bat. What do you think? You've seen them strike out twice. You've seen them hit the grand slam home run. Statistically speaking, they should actually strike out. They got 66% chance of striking out. It's really high odds. Like, go to the casino if you got 66% chance of winning, because you're going to eventually win. So they got a 66 chance of striking out now at this point. But they just did something incredible. Like, incredible. Now it's at the point where the thing was so incredible they hit a grand slam after missing twice. Well, that's even beyond expectations. So they went under expectation and then over expectation. Just think for yourself, what would you do? What would you think? Would you doubt them that they're going to be able to do it again? Or would you have all of the hope and start cheering them on and being like, you've obviously proven you can do it. I believe in you. Okay. So they go and they swing and they strike out. Then they come up again, and now they're 3-1. What do? You say, well, your last at bat was you striked out. I don't know what the past tense of that is. Struck out, and you struck out. And so you're like, but I really love that grand slam. I really want to root for this. I really want to go for this. I want to really cheer them on. Or you're like, who knows what they're going to, why am I even bothering to cheer them on? Chances are they're just going to strike out again. So now again, ask yourself, what would you do? This is important, by the way. This is literally going to be the very next point I put up on the screen. So I'm really running into running in deep on this example. What do you do? So they hit a home run on bat 5. It's awesome. Game goes around again. They're up again. Now it's anyone's game. It could be, they could hit strike, they could hit home run. It's all or nothing now at this point. Are they as good as their last at bat in your mind? They're going to hit home run. Are they only as good as their average? In that case, they're going to strike out 3-2. What do we do? Okay. So if someone says to you, you showed up on time, you showed up on time, you showed up on time. You did what you said you're going to do. You did what you said you're going to do. You did what you said you were going to do. I'm going to ask you for something else because you've proven yourself good. Oh no, you completely dropped the ball. You completely effed up. Or this is a disaster. If they're saying that to you, which one are you going to defend in yourself? Are you going to say, but I did it right 3 times. Why are you coming down so hard on me for missing once? Am I only as good as my last at bat? Or are you going to say, you're right. I don't know where that came from. I got to really watch out for myself because I think maybe I was getting comfortable with just assuming I was going to go and do a great job. Maybe that's why I slipped. Okay. And this is the concept that we're going to talk about today. Anybody got a story that you can relate to about that? Does that apply to you in some way? Please type it. Love to share stories. People on these live chats love hearing that there's people that can relate. And so I want to know if you have a story that's like this. Is somebody doubting you that you feel like you don't deserve? Trying to typing and talking. Anyway, we're just going to let today happen exactly how it's meant to happen. Haha, because this is all part of the point. Okay. So here's the thing. So Lydia says it's a lot like that in sales jobs. Oh boy, is it ever. I have a story for that one. I actually worked at a home builder, and a person launched a sales center, made sales, launched a sales center, made sales, launched another, made sales, launch another sales center, dismal, horrible. Pull her into the office and basically tell her that she's on the chopping block and they should fire her. And this is where this sentence in my mind came from. She came out of that meeting and looked at me, and I was like, what happened? How's it go? You're not looking too good. And she goes, never forget this, Peter. You're only as good as your last at bat. That really happened. And that's actually the source of why I'm even doing this today. This was years ago. I mean, I can't even calculate this, like 12 years ago, maybe. I don't even remember now. But boy, do I remember like it was yesterday. And like Lydia says, sorry, comments. Comments. It's a lot like that in sales jobs. And in this case, that was exactly what happened. It was actually the vice president of sales that this happened to. But there's something to really note about this. How hard they came down on her was relative to how high their expectations were. Okay? So the fact that I even just said that out loud, bear with me. I'm going to type that out. How hard they come. Bear with me. How hard they, I'm saying it out loud so that you have something to watch in the video. How hard they come down on you is relative to how. What did I even say? How hard they come down on you is relative to how high their expectations. That's going to finish on that point. Okay. Here we go. It's one of those weeks. It was a weird week this week. It was a weird week. Weird energies, crazy stuff, people talking in ways that they weren't talking. It was a crazy week. Mark today, July 27th, 2022. It's a Wednesday. And the last 10 to 12 days have just been wacky. And then I saw online that it was the end of the Mayan calendar. They call it the day out of time. And the day after that happened, that was July 27th. Wait, today's July 27th. So that was a couple of days ago, July 25th or 26th, they say. And it all, after this day at a time passed on the Mayan calendar, everything went kind of back to normal or even better. Actually, things were even better. So I almost thought about talking about that this week, about just how wacky it was this week. But the thing is that people watch these videos for coaching and as a replay, and I want the content to be permanent. So somebody can actually watch this, 2 years from now and gain something from this. And it's not going to really, they're not going to remember this week. But since you're here with me live, and since I'm probably going to edit this out after when it's not live anymore, if you got a story about it being a wacky week, you go right ahead and share it just because you're here. And it might be really what you're going through right now. So, okay. Starting again. Here we go. You're only as good as the last at bat. Then I told you some stories. So, and how hard they came down to the sales manager was really relative to how high the expectations were. And so just like the analogy I gave, or the story, or whatever we call that analogy, of the professional baseball player who strikeout, grand slam, strikeout, home run, whether or not you're sitting there believing them or not believing in them is really all in you. And that's all relative to how much you're wanting something to happen, what level of expectation you're putting in on them. Okay. So it takes time and effort to build rapport and trust, but only a moment to create doubt. Okay. One moment, all it takes. But you can go months being perfect, building trust. And what that's doing is it's creating higher expectations. So the moment you don't meet those expectations, even though the expectations were very low at the beginning, the expectations go up with every success. And so how hard somebody comes down on you when it doesn't go to these expectations is going to be relative to where they're seeing you, not your success, not your growth. They're not going to be comparing it to what you've done all along the way and all of the things you had to go through and learn. They're going to be comparing it to their level of expectation. Okay. The reason why it only takes a moment to create doubt is because you never created the trust or doubt. It was already in them. And most people, most of the time, they say the number's somewhere around the 90% range. Most people, most of the time, are thinking doubt, fear of lack, fear of abandonment, fear of something going wrong, unexpected. Genuinely, to be most accurate, to generalize it, it's the fear that something will be out of control, out of their control. Okay. So I don't have total control over whether or not my boss is going to keep me in the business. They're the boss. I can't control them. That creates an underlying fear. I can't control that all of my clients are going to keep coming to my business, but I can at least take some kind of control to take effort to get more clients. Now it's only half of the anxiety, or half of the fear. Okay. So if somebody is looking at you and they so easily don't believe in you because of your last at bat, because of the last thing they saw, that's going to be relative not only to the expectations, but to the amount of doubt that they're already carrying in their body about themselves, about the world around them, and how much they fear losing control of a situation. Okay. The speed that someone loses trust in you is the speed that they lose it in themselves. Or it shows the fear that they are unsafe in a world around them, if the world around them is unsafe. Okay. A self-trusting person tends to trust others. The more a person trusts in themselves, the less that they expect of others, the less they need of others, the less they're going to put responsibility on others. When a person trusts themselves, they are not going to be so affected when you don't meet an expectation. Does that land? Does that make sense? Do you have that experience? Do you agree or disagree with that? I like that. Awesome. I like that you like that. Thank you for that comment. So, whether or not you go with Lydia's example of being a salesperson, you go out, you have some amount of control. You have some amount of ability to swing that bat, to take that try, to make that effort. That's your ability. And how much you decide you need for someone else to trust you is going to diminish your self-trust. The more you put out the responsibility on others, the less control you actually have. We have to acknowledge that there is only so much we can control, and everything else that we can't control, a lot. Things we can't control, not that much. Okay? By the way, that's relative to what we're talking about, because we can control almost nothing out in the world. We can only control, we can't control almost anything. We can only control our reaction. Okay, that's the accurate way to talk about self-control, is I can only control how I react to it. But in the realm of business, in the realm of organizing, in the realm of taking action and manifesting what you want in the world, that flips. You have all of the responsibility, all of the control, and there's very little that you actually don't have control of. So this flips. Sorry, you know what I'm trying to do here, right? Based on the scenario. So from the perspective of, you're going to take a chance, you're going to put everything you got into it. There's only so much that you can do. And the more that you rely on someone else, the less control you have, but the more support you might have. Whether or not you are scared of how you performed, if you look at your own stats, I'm the one going out and taking the shots. I'm the one who's going out and saying, will you buy my book rights? Will you publish my, this? Will you go out with me? Will you buy my product? If we all look at the number of times that we try and the number of no's that we get, if we start asking ourselves, am I only as good as at my last at bat? The statistic of failure might stop us from continuing forward. If you continue forward, the only thing that's going to get you to do that is trust, faith, trust, and some amount of mathematical statistics. Okay, because if you have a 1 out of 10 chance of winning something and it's guaranteed, and you lose 9 times, you should be really, really excited to go that 10th round. Okay? So there are times where you really should keep going and not judging your last at bat. Don't let other people judge your last at bat. If statistically speaking, if you keep going, you're going to find something that's going to work. Okay? So Thomas Edison says that he made 10,000 iterations of the light bulb, and when asked how did he keep going, he failed 10,000 times. He said, I did not fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 versions that I didn't want. They just weren't perfect. And I wanted exactly a vision. I wanted it to be a certain way. I wanted it to meet a certain number of parameters. And so I kept going. Now, I didn't talk to Thomas Edison. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. I am assuming that the reason why he kept going is because he knew that you can only fail so many times before you figure it out. And he was willing for that to be over 10,000 times. If he was only as good as his last at bat, he had 10,000, not the light bulb that we have. There's a belief that you create mastery by repeating something 10,000 times. But the only thing we actually master is what we practice 10,000 times. So if you practice doing something wrong 10,000 times, you will be a master of doing it wrong. But it doesn't mean you will get the thing you want. Okay? So how do you keep going? And vice versa, how long should you trust in someone else's ability to come through before you let your doubt out? Doubt out. Out with doubt. So this is genuinely one of the most difficult questions I have to answer when somebody's in a relationship where they keep asking their partner to change. And over time, they see a number of times where it doesn't work. They don't do what they're asked. What is the internal process of how many times do I give them a chance before I think they're just literally going to say no and just like never do it? Or if I already know that they're saying no and they don't want it, how many times do I try to change the situation to help educate, to help somebody, to support somebody so that they can see that it's possible? How many times? The genuine answer is it's relative to the amount of energy that you have to spend. Okay? If you have the time, money, patience, energy, whatever it is that you need, whatever resource you need, if you have the time to keep on putting into your partner, into a situation, into a job, into a project, into inventing something, into creating yourself, into finding yourself, if you have enough time and resources, okay, there is no limit. The answer is 10,000 times. Friggin' you might end up with a light bulb. But if you don't have the resources, at some point, it will inevitably just run out, even if you don't want to quit. So how long you should trust in someone else before you got to cut it off and lose doubt, it's relative to your resources. There is no should. This is in there. It's a trick word. I put should in there. And the answer is could. Okay? What we're really saying is, how long could I keep going? If. Could I keep going if these other needs were met? Could I keep working on it if I had the support and the resources? And the biggest question is, should I? What is the benefit? What is the goal? What am I actually trying to get here? That's where the should is. If you are the one that's trying to gain trust, if you keep trying and failing and just keep begging for more chances and begging for more trust, like if you are in training for a job and you keep failing the training, if you're in school and you keep failing a test, but they keep giving you more tests, more rewrites. I know people that have come to me for coaching because they kept failing their trucking exam to become a long haul trucker. And they had failed so many times, they had created the doubt that they were going to fail. And I had to teach them that the reason why they failed was because they already had the doubt. And by reprogramming that and creating the trust and actually connecting into the resources, they passed. Like immediately after having one session with me, they passed their test. Okay. So this is why we have to acknowledge that When we're the ones that are not doing well, the person who is judging us already had the doubt, or already had the trust, or had or didn't have the resources to give to us. But when we're the ones that are making the effort, we have to understand, I'm trying to speak from both sides. We have to remember that there's both sides. There's going to be times where we're trying and trying and trying and trying, and we don't want to admit defeat. We don't want to say that we're quitting. But there may not be enough resources to allow us to keep trying. And sometimes we want to keep trying and trying and trying and trying, and we have the resources, but maybe we should actually say, this is probably not the best use of these resources. Maybe I should cut this off and try something else. And this is where one-on-one coaching actually comes in. This is where we can't actually give group. Well, this isn't group coaching. I can't pre-record this kind of information. The questions are there. And if you are actually going through something like this, please reach out to a coach, me, or someone around you to discuss this kind of thing, because that level of weighing the options, understanding your resources, that's all you need to do. And deciding, should I and could I? Should I? What's the benefit of this? What am I gaining from this? What are they gaining from it? And do I gain from that? And does the world gain from that, right? What kind of impact is it going to make for me to spend these resources? That's the should I. And could I? Do I even have that? Plan ahead, okay? Try and use that as your framework for whether or not you're giving somebody trust that keeps failing, and whether or not you should even be asking for somebody to trust you if you keep failing. Okay? Not failing, but, trying. Just want to read out a couple of comments because we're coming to the end. So, of course, I knew this was going to come up. With the principle. Yeah. So, trust someone. This is not my comment. So Lydia says, trust someone as long as the real communication and sincerity is happening. So this is something I want to say about that. I've been in situations where where I was the business owner asking for more and more chances from my clients because I really didn't want to lose a project, and vice versa, where my staff kept asking for more and more chances, and I had to make the choice to cut something off. The communication is real. The sincerity is genuinely there. When it comes to relationships, they can really, definitely, genuinely want to be there for you and be the right person for you and help you and support you, whatever the case may be, both supporting you or asking you to support them. It can be genuinely sincere and authentic and very honest and vulnerable. Okay. So this is why we have to go over to the method of, do we actually have the resources? How long can this go on for? Okay. So then it's not personal. It's not so much a judgment. We can then fully support the person and give them gratitude and cheer them on and say, the time is just up. It's not me, it's not you. Time's up. And that is something where businesses actually fail, is because they don't quit soon enough on something that they should. The more often, the reason why a business fails is because they quit way too soon. Most of the time, statistically speaking, a business fails because they ran out of resources to keep trying. And if they would have kept going, the iterations would have figured it out. They would have worked out the kinks. They would have got feedback, and they would have created it. Okay. It really does more come down to the resources to keep trying, not from whether or not I should believe in them. And are they tagging me along? Are they it's called breadcrumbing. Are they tagging me along? Are they, trying to keep me around? This kind of thing. This is an interesting comment. So Lydia says, I don't think there should be that much of a struggle with trust. And what I assume you mean is you shouldn't be struggling to give trust. Lydia, you can just nod, or like, do you mean it should not be a struggle to give trust? Like, if it should be, you should be able to sense it. Like, you should just know that it's, yeah. So it should be easy enough to, trust is something that you should have within. It's what I said. Exactly. Yeah. So trust is something that you already have within you. If somebody has to build your trust, then chances are, if you can't trust yourself, or if you have too much doubt in yourself, it just means that you don't have enough life experience to know whether or not you should trust someone else. So it really is actually coming from within anyway. Sometimes we just are like, I really don't know whether or not I should trust this person. I guess we'll keep going forward so I can learn what those signs are. So that's not really a struggle or it's effort. That's more like curiosity. There's a benefit. There's learning. So in that way, you're not struggling to trust them, but you're not really trusting them either. So I think you're right. Yeah, if they haven't built trust yet, then we don't hand over anything important to them. Unless they haven't built trust yet and you got more than enough to share. Sometimes there's something called an angel investor. An angel investor just has tons of money, like $100 million, and you ask for 1,000. That's like half a cent to them. So you're like, are you willing to just throw some money at this so I can like go chase a dream that even I can't trust, you can't trust, but are you willing to just give? Do you have enough resources to just give? And sometimes it's not really even about trust. It's just about genuine curiosity to try something out and do something new. Okay. So I really want to kind of reel this back into what the topic, which is, are you as good as your last at bat? And I want to go back to my banners here. If you genuinely trust in yourself, Lydia, I think that's where genuine trust that you shouldn't struggle with, I think that's where that comes from. If you're trying to trust someone else, that is actually, as much as we call it trust, like for me, when we're trying to trust something outside of us, that's statistics. That's just math. Okay. But if we're looking within ourselves to see how much we trust them, that's a feeling, that's a sense. That should be something that shouldn't be a struggle. You know, some people call it a full body yes. I don't really trust that they're going to come through on that. I got a gut feeling. We can have a lack of trust in somebody that has only successes. Here's the exact example of that. I go to a blackjack table. I roll a black. I roll a black. I roll a black. I have black and red, by the way. Black, 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 black. At 19 blacks, everyone's thinking the next one's going to be a red. The next one's going to be a red. The next one's going to be a red. That's one of those times where just because it's consistent doesn't mean you should trust it. That is a once in a lifetime thing. Like the chances of that happening again are very slim. Start betting on red. Okay. Statistically speaking, it's still a 50-50 chance every single roll. But if you look historically at the number of times that 19 blacks come up in a row on a roulette table, it's extremely rare. So that's just statistics. But somebody can walk into a casino. My parents do this. They used to just go into casinos and just like walk up to a slot machine and just put a quarter in and like roll it once and just like walk away. Just like randomly play a machine for like 1 minute and leave. And it was like, you got a gut feeling. Let's just sit at this one. And I've literally stood beside people that just like put $1 in and won like $100,000 or $10,000. It's like, it's a gut feeling. So there's an internal trust, which I think should be a gut feeling and shouldn't be too much effort. And then externally, I think it should be more based on like, does it deserve trust? From me, that's statistics. Should they trust themselves? Definitely. If no one trusts you and you got a gut feeling in yourself, maybe you should try it. Maybe you should just go with that gut feeling. Even if you've not proven it to anybody, that's on them, because statistically, they don't have a reason to believe you. If they have all the resources and they're an angel trust investor and they can just trust you because no harm to them, well, then they're just going to trust you, because who cares? What loss is there? I'm giving you every scenario. I'm literally giving you a very broad and wide number of scenarios so you can really get a full and rich idea of how much you trust yourself, how much you trust others, how much somebody's earning your trust, when you should give it. Why should it feel bad if somebody doesn't trust you? Did you earn it? Do you even need their trust? What if you got all the trust in what you're doing that you need? How many inventors would have quit if they listened to everybody saying, I don't know about this, while they were on the first draft? I mean, you can't know that something's going to be awesome on the first draft. Sometimes it's got to take 10,000 drafts before it's awesome. Of course, there's a bunch of doubt at first. It's about you deciding what's in your gut feeling to go with, and whether or not you really are as good as your last at bat should stop you at all. That's awesome. Lydia says she's always better than her last at bat. And I think that in a way, because we're always learning, we're always better than our last at bat. There's always an improvement. Okay. I feel that it is easier to feel comfortable with not being trusted as I get older. Very cool. I hope that comes from self-esteem. So I think it's important to note that when you are knocking it at, don't get too comfortable. I actually just blurted out the whole blackjack example. I was going to give a different one, but if you are really sitting in a situation where it's working and it's working and it's working and it's working, and you really got it perfected, and you're getting to a point of mastery. I don't care how much of a master you are at anything. Don't get too comfortable. Okay? Because it's when you think you don't have to try a little bit, that's when the unpredictable stuff gets in. So if you're doing really well, don't doubt yourself. Don't think, well, it's been going great a million times. I guess this is going to be the one red on the roulette table that's going to come up. No, I'm not saying do that. All I'm saying is statistically look back at what's been working for you. And if it's been working, be mindful of that. Say effort was required to get this knowledge. I'm going to keep making that effort to keep up that knowledge. Don't get too comfortable. Okay? Don't expect that because it went well 20 times that it's going to go well again. But be in charge of it. Be in control of it. Know that it's going well because you're putting the effort into it. Don't get too comfortable. Don't let things slide. Do what worked and keep that up. So it's a balance of effort and trust. Okay? Just want to read. Chris says, "Thank you so much. I'm actually needed to hear this. Thank you so much, Chris. I do believe that we're always in the right place at the right time. So I hope this is helping you." 5 minutes ago, Georgia says yes, and I'm like, what did I say 5 minutes ago? Thanks, Georgia, for that. Yes, I appreciate it. Sorry that I don't know what you're talking about, but it's good energy. I feel like I put it all out there. Any feedback? There's Georgia. LOL. Thanks, Georgia. I wish I knew why all of your comments are not coming through here, because they're supposed to be here on the screen with your little picture over here like we used to have. I don't know where that all went. So I'll have to look into that. I definitely appreciate that you're all here and listening, and the floor is open. If there's anybody that wants to share what was useful, do you have any questions? Is there anything that's not clear? Is there anything you want to trial and error? Is there a situation you're in where you're not sure whether or not you're getting enough trust or whether you're giving too much trust? Background music, elevator music. Dun, 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 dun. Oh. When I was, Lydia says, when I was a teenager, I was falsely accused of stealing. It really set me back at that age in terms of trust issues. So, I'd love to hear more about that. This is one of those things where I'd love to actually have like an on-screen chat, but I'm not going to like stick you on screen when you're not prepared for it. But I'd love to hear a bit more. So obviously somebody said you stole something, you didn't steal something. How did that set you back in certain terms of trust issues? Like trusting others, like trusting their judgment of you? Or is there some kind of self-trust that diminished? Whoa, that's really interesting. So Lydia, when you were a teenager, somebody falsely accused you of stealing, and that lowered your trust or your confidence in finding future employment. Is that because you then feared that the people that you were trying to get employment from were going to misjudge you as being like a thief, like being untrustworthy? Is that a yeah? Yeah. So because one person did it, the chances are for you that many people were going to do it. Yeah. And how many times did that have to happen before you started to feel like everyone might be judgmental and narrow-minded like that one person? How many times did it have to happen before you lost that trust and it lowered your confidence in others judging you properly, accurately, to be more accurate? Once? Did it just happen once and that was enough? Yeah. And so because there was other experiences in childhood, there starts to create this cart before the horse, that if something in your childhood, yeah. So if something from your family, something that was in the way that you were raised, created the belief inside of you that you should doubt yourself, you're going to act in a way that's going to cause others to doubt you. Okay. So this is what tends to happen is and how we kind of create our world around us is that people are empathizing with us. People are trying to read into what we're thinking and feeling, and they try to react to that. So if I'm nervous and jittery about something, people are going to just automatically not trust me just by reading my body language. So if you come from a place where a lot of doubt in you, in your family was created, you're going to carry that doubt. That's what's going to make people incorrectly judge you or place stories on interpretations of your self-doubt. They're going to put that on you, and then they might accuse you of something. But whether or not they are accusing you as being a thief is actually relative to their doubt about being able to keep their stuff safe. I'm telling you right now, it had nothing to do with you. I promise you, if they felt like you were a thief, they were already carrying a fear that there are thieves. That you understand that? So I want to build up some of your self-esteem in the way that it's not who you are as a person in terms of your resources. If you have a voice and a desire and an understanding of how to communicate and how to connect with people, then those are your resources that you can use to build your own self-esteem and to build your own self-trust. And then whether or not somebody doubts you is going to be relative to whether or not they're capable of it. Okay? So if somebody has no idea how to communicate and you say, I totally know how to communicate, they're not going to believe you until you really prove it to them, because they don't know what they're looking for. They have no way of judging how correct you are. Okay? It's why people get taken advantage of. They don't know how to tell the scammer on the phone that they're lying. So, it's best to just kind of doubt everyone. So if your parents had doubt, they put that into you, but that's not relative to whether or not you deserved it. If somebody thought you were a thief and incorrectly blamed you, why specifically thief? Why didn't they fear that you were going to steal their husband or break their stuff? Like, they have to be predisposed to something that's happened to them that makes them project that onto you. Okay? So that doesn't make you a thief. So where I believe that you have a valid fear in that other people might also project onto you, that's going to be relative to how much you got to go inwards and say, how much do I trust myself? What are my resources? What am I capable of? If I present, in your words, ask yourself, if I present somebody and communicate with real communication and with sincerity with what I know I trust in myself, would I really be so worried if they're going to incorrectly judge me? And you might need some exposure to that to really believe in yourself. Like, you might need some feedback and some response, from people to kind of trial and error it. But I hope you understand what I'm saying. If I know how to just correctly and very accurately say, I can do that, I cannot do this and this and this and this. If you can call yourself out from a place of non-judgment, that's an automatic trust building, right? So then, if you stop doubting yourself, you stop letting those people in. Yeah, that's another good point. That's also a good point. If you stop doubting yourself, it won't really matter that they don't doubt you. Lydia's doing this for everybody that can't see Lydia. It won't really matter. So then that's how you're not letting them in. I really wish all of your comments were coming up on the screen so I didn't have to read them all, but it is what it is. So Lydia says, I know when I didn't trust my intuition, I had a friend who treated me like it was all in my head. That's gaslighting. As I trusted my intuition more, that friend decided she couldn't tolerate me. At that stage, it was so easy to let friendship go because I knew what I had been holding on to. So, and you see how the amount of trust that you had in your intuition was enough for you to have the self-esteem to have your own back, to support yourself, to say, I can do this, I'm going to keep going. And now it just doesn't even matter what somebody's opinion is. Okay. At that point, there is an intuition, there is a trust that you can start on something where it's your first time at bat. And I do want to call that out here as, are you as good as your last at bat? What if it's your first time at bat? There is no last time at bat. What's the whole point of going to bat? What's the whole point of even trying if we're not willing to build experience from it? That's the whole point. The point isn't to succeed the first time. The point is to learn. If you're in a position like a sales position, you got to set reasonable expectations. If you know that your closing rate is 20%, don't let somebody expect that yours is 50. Just say it's 20%. And then everybody can be on board. If they don't like it, if they like it, then it's just a fact at this point. It's not personal. Okay. If they're judging you, if they're calling you names, if you're putting you down because of your stat, that's all them. Okay. You don't deserve it. Communicate what is your thing, because it's extremely rare that somebody's got 100% right out of the gate, where they're just come out swinging perfectly. And Tiger Woods, I love this example, started great. It wasn't until after people started expecting him to do well that he plummeted. Never forget this. Just because you're doing awesome all the time doesn't mean it's not going to go downhill. So don't get too comfortable. But if you're failing all the time, it doesn't mean you're not going to figure it out. That's how you get good. So some people will say, I'm going to reiterate this. Why should I bother trying when everybody else is so awesome? And I'm going to say, watch how they're awesome and use that as a learning experience and do it for yourself. It's not for anyone else to judge, number one. Number two, if they are awesome all the time and you start and they're already over here, they're going to eventually decrease in quality while you're going up. This is really hard in reverse. At some point, they're going to close a gap and you're going to close a gap by getting better, and they're going to eventually slide. No one can be the world's best batter at 100 years old. At some point, it's just going to slowly go downhill. Everyone's got a prime. Everything's got a prime. Okay? So if something's awesome, it's not for you to be as awesome. And if you need to catch up to somebody, I mean, it's literally just inevitable that you will. Now, I understand that there's always going to be a scenario that you can find some little example like, well, if I go to this job and this person's got 50 years of sales experience, am I ever really going to, and they're selling $1 billion of life insurance a year, I'm not going to reach the $1 billion of life insurance. And now I'm just going to go right back to set your expectations, communicate them well, remove the doubt, and then know that you're going to get better over time. And if you don't, no problem. Just set the expectation. Deliver the expectation. I told you I was going to come back around to this, because how hard they come down on you is relative to how high their expectations were. Okay? Under promise, over deliver. Go easy on yourself. Any comments? Kind of at the end. I started a few minutes late because of some setup. And so I've gone the full hour now. And I feel like we've really, thanks to everybody here, been able to really kind of go through some examples of this. And I really appreciate, Lydia, that you're here tonight and typing away on some examples so we can see a live example. And I hope that this did in some way, obviously you're talking about a time in your life that's past, but hopefully this is something that you can heal from hearing this and also apply in ways that you might still be doubting yourself. Okay, Georgia, you're welcome. Thank you very much for everyone that was here tonight. And, thanks, Chris and Georgia and Lydia and everyone that were here. And thank you as well to everybody that watches this in replay, like Keegan and Rebecca. And, it's so great to know that this is helping people, and I hope it does help you. And please, if you ever have any questions or if you have feedback or you got an example that this doesn't apply to, I'm always open to hearing it, because not all things are for all people all the time. And it's good to just remember that discernment is really the genuine mastery of life. Knowing when it applies and doesn't apply is the actual only mastery there is. So caught the end, says Rebecca. I called you out. I said your name. I don't know if you heard that. I'm pretty sure I said it within the last minute. But thanks, Rebecca. Thanks for showing up. Okay. We're saying goodnight. Thanks for all your love and support and energy and presence. And I really appreciate it. And thank you so much. So see you again in a week. Oh, yes. Thanks, Rebecca. Yep. Good night, Lydia. Thank you. Thanks, Georgia. I'm gonna go do my little, put my branding thing up. I'm gonna play some music. Dun, 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 dun. They're gonna put this title screen up that says I do this every week. Boom. It's not there. Oh, I see why. I should put that over here. I'm gonna do this boom thing again. Everyone's just tuning out, but I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. No, apparently I can't. All right. Bye.